Hare Krishna. Pujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Arutya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam Koshpati Kritavarashim Mashaki Kritarakshasam Ramayana Mahamala Ratnam Vande Vilatmajam Vaidehi Sahitam Suradrumatale Taime Mahamantape Madhye Pushpakamasane Madhye Virasane Sustitam Agre Vachayati Prabhanjana Sute Tapam Munibhya Param Vyakyantam Bharatadivi Parivritam Ramam Bhajeshyamaram Namostu Ramaya Salakshmanaya Devyai Shavasmi Tasye Janakatmajaya Namostu Rudrendrayamanile Namostu Chandrarka Murukkanibhyaha. So, early morning, today the raga that's playing is Lalit. Lalit is a morning raga, but I think Lalit is very close to raga Todi. So I was singing more Todi than Lalit, something like that. Ragas bring the mood of that particular time. So when I hear Lalit, I am able to see the sun rising on the east, and when the sun is not harming the eyes in any way, it's very cooling to the eyes. I mean, you can see the sun happily. And then the first birds start flying across. You're hearing the chirping of the birds. You see the clouds up there. This is an early morning scene. Now we are dealing with an early morning scene here. So what happens with regard to kings? When it comes to a king's place, early in the morning, of the best come there. So they say, Uttamashrutaha Mangalascha. Who are the people? Uttamashrutaha, very learned. Mangalascha, people who, auspicious men whose presence itself makes that place auspicious. So in the morning, you don't want to see somebody inauspicious. Yes, you want to see somebody who's auspicious. And not only that, Stutishilaha, people who are capable of speaking pleasant words. For people like kings, you have to keep them boosted up with regard to what they are doing. We will see why and what today as we go. So Stutishilaha means in praising them, very, very capable people. Gayakaha, Vandinaha, people who sing beautiful songs and different varieties. So all these people had assembled, and out of that, Panivadakaha, the people who sing along with clapping, and Avadani Udakritaha, and people who talk about, just like you hear Yashoda Maya when she is churning in this month, she is singing the pastimes of Krishna. So just like that, here the eulogists who come there, they are coming and singing the eulogy of Dashratha at that point in time. You see, there are many people who love, rather most people love when they are praised. Somebody says, "Oh, it looks like Prabhu, you slimmed down a little." Really? The exact opposite reaction, Prabhu, you put on some weight. Kya kare yaar? Ye Diwali aa raha hai na? Uske pehle hi aise ho gaya. It's a painful this thing. So when people sing praise, praise is something that makes everybody happy. So actually I am reminded of this beautiful story that Srila Prabhupada talks about. Gopal Ban story. So there was a Nawab in Bengal, and the Nawab heard so much about this Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the people are always, so when he heard about the characters, people are such fans of all the Pandavas and all that stuff. So he said, called Gopal Ban, he told me, write one Mahabharata about me. Oh, this is another thing. There are many people who want to be praised. There are people who will pay millions, lakhs of dirhams only to become the Udghatan ceremony for some big event, or where their photo will come on the front page, back page, whatever page. People will do anything to gain stuff like that. So what did he do? So So Gopal Ban said, okay, isko ullu banane ka is the right time. So what Gopal Ban did, he said, yeah, give me, 1 lakh gold coins. I will engage the best of the best scholars to write one Mahabharat fully in your name. So the king gave. So then he asked him next how the work is happening. The work is going well. One more, 50,000 coins, please. Okay. How is it going? When will it finish? It will finish very soon in a few days. Another little more money. He took more money. So then, finally one day he came, the king was, very anxious. He said, what's happening, How is the Mahabharata coming along? Will people praise me? Will they talk about me? So he said, yeah, everything is fully done. I only want one very, very important detail. How many husbands does your wife have? You please tell me and give me the names of those people. I will write those people down also. He said, what? How many husbands my wife has? What are you asking me? No way. Gopal Ban said, listen, Mahabharat means Draupadi is a very important character and she had 5 husbands. Now if you don't give me 5 husbands, then how the whole war and everything will happen? He said, no, I cannot give. No, you have to give. The king said, no, I don't want this Mahabharat, get lost. Gopal Ban said, Andar money man bola, that's what I wanted also, thank you. Took the money and made fun of the king and moved on. So like that actually people love to be praised. But when it comes to kings, they should be praised for the kind of activities that they do. We will see why and how. Yes? Then, in the same morning, within the palace, near the palace area, on one side you are hearing all these great people who have come there. You are hearing the sounds of Veena. You are hearing the sounds of all these auspicious this thing. On one side, they are singing morning-related ragas. On another side, they are singing wonderful verses from scripture, which are very auspicious to hear in the morning. And then along with that, he says, Shakastaha, situated in the branches, and Pinjarastaha, Pinjarasta, in Pinjarasta, situated, birds, Vihagaha. What are they doing? They are singing beautifully. Twitter, birds Twitter, not the channel, not the web page, not the social media. So they were hearing all these. So the morning, everybody is singing beautifully, the best singers that you can get in that space. And Vyakritaha Punya Shabdascha. So on one side, beautiful mantras about the Lord, and Veenanam Chapi Niswana, and the wonderful notes of the Veena, the strings of the Veena, the deep notes for the morning, and prayerful hymns. All of this is filling the entire palace beautifully. This is the every morning routine for the king. And then at the same time, Tatascha Suchisma Acharaha, morning for the sake of purificatory rites, whatever is bought. So that before the king is woken up, then on the side they will have water so that he will be able to first wash his mouth, get all his activities done in the morning. For that full arrangement, there was a description, I think I've mentioned this before, description of, I think, king of Jaipur or some other place. They had a list of around 200 people who actually do service to the king just for his morning duties. So on one side there is a set of Ayurveds who will go pick the specific plant. See, in plant there are many parts, yes. So there is the root, there is the stem, there is the leaf, there are just the buds, there are the flowers, there are so many elements of a plant. In some plants they say Sarvanga and some they say just Mula. So only an Ayurved knows why Hanuman went and bought the whole mountain. Because in order to save Lakshmana, what an actual Ayurved or a Pandit, what he needs, that is not easy for us to gather. So, all of these Ayurveds will pick from the right place, plants of the right age, to pick the right leaves, out of which one mixture will be made, which he will apply on his body. Along with that, there will be Chandana, Aguru, all of these scented items, Then they will see what is the kapha, vata, pitta nature of the king. According to that first thing, what is the first drink he is supposed to have. So there will be a drink and there could be other tablets and all. This is all just medicinal. Then just for the sake of the body, what he wants to wear, wardrobe, keeping things ready on one end. There is a whole list of things that people will do. For him to take bath, water will be bought at the right temperature, in the right place. How does he like it? What is his temperature? Measured and kept. People who do these things regularly know everything. So there are a lot of women and eunuchs who are there, who are expert in serving. Paryupasthana Kovidaha. Kovidaha means expert. Paryupasthana is to do service. So for whatever the king's requirements, what he likes. In the morning, he likes eucalyptus datun. He likes a neem datun. He likes a miswak datun. All three varieties will be there. So like this, there is a whole set of arrangement. Harichandana Sampraktam. Yes, Harichandana. Sandalwood is also, the water is mixed. Udakam Kanchanaihi Kataihi. In a big golden pot. Water has been made ready with all these things for the Raja. And Mangala Alamba Niyani. Many other ointments. Alamba Niyani. So that's his, his body lotion, his cologne, everything made of natural ingredients. What does he like to? Is it vetiver fragrance he likes in the morning? Or is it rose that he likes? Prashaniyani Upaskaran. Yeah, for his bath, what is needed? His towel, everything that is needed for him. Sarva Lakshana Sampannaha. Every item to the best of its quality. Sarva Vidivat Adarchitam. So Vidivat, how it was traditionally done, how it is preferred by the king, all done in that manner and kept ready. Kim Swit Iti Upashankitam. But then, one set of people, Upashankitam, they became a little doubtful. What is it? Normally, when all this Veda Ghosha is happening on one end, Mantra Ghosha is happening, Veena Vadya is happening. By this time, generally when people become older, they need less and less sleep. And if you see naturally, it also becomes a little easier to get up in the morning. Because when you're younger, you're more active in so many ways. And because of that, your energy is fully sucked in. And your body is constantly working on regeneration of cells. As you get older, regeneration is reducing. So, generally, when older, they get up earlier. And it looks like from Ramayana, I'm also able to see that generally it's expected that even in the palace, the king is expected to get up early. The Ranis may be next in line. You will see why I am saying that. You will understand why that is. In the normal Grihini Dharma, this is not the norm. This is for the queens. So, you can try. When you want to be the queen, you are lying in a queen bed, you may continue to enjoy something like that. But some people thought there's something wrong. The king is generally up by this time. When he hears his favorite singer singing on this side, this is his favorite morning raga happening, and with all this Vadya and Shubha Mangala Ghosha is happening, why not? So then, some of them went in near the bed and they tried to wake him up. And even that, not everybody has a right to get in. I mentioned this earlier. It looks like the kings and the queens were naturally accustomed. When they are sleeping, lying down there is somebody walking in, walking out, looking at them. Are they ready to get up? People looking at them, making arrangements for them. So many things happening in the background. Because their lives they are not private lives, they are public lives. They are people who live public lives. So, there are some specific people who have the right to actually come up to the king's bedstead. And if necessary to wake him up, to touch him. Yes, all of these things, only few people have the arhade or the right to do that. So, these people went there, they touched him, they see the body is cold, they must have felt his pulse, seen his swasha, they see there is nothing. So, it says, Ta Striyaha Swanam Shilagnya. Swanam Shilagnya means people who know what is sleep. That is, when one is sleeping, one can sleep like a log, but still you will see the chest rising, you will see different lakshanas. So it is not that these people, mind you, these are traditional people. And in that group there will be some very elderly people who have experience, who understand what is sleep and what is permanent sleep. Yes, needs to be understood. So they will go bring the right people. What I think something is wrong. What's happening here? Cheshta, Sanchalanam, Adishu. These are people who understand movement. Sanchalanam, Adishu. They understand what is sleep movement and what is the movement of death. The moment rather. Ta Vepatuhu Paridascha. Suddenly Vepatuhu, they started trembling. A few of them, their body is shaking. Dashratha has lived a very long lifetime. It's not that people see a dead king very, very often. But here, suddenly they are shaking. Rajnya Praneshu Shankita. They suddenly became very doubtful that this person is gone. They were trembling. So, in that situation, having seen the king so closely, those women who were apprehensive became certain that the inevitable has happened. The king is moved on. So immediately what happens? They are looking towards Kaushalya and Sumitra. Oh, they must be sleeping in their room. No, they were sleeping right there next to the king. Kaushalya cha, Sumitra cha, Putra shoka, parajite. What had happened? They had lost their battle to sleep. Because the last 6 days, what all they have been through. And because of Putra shoka parajite, they had been defeated by the fact that they were in so much anguish after their sons have gone away. So that was weighing heavily on them. So they had fallen to sleep. Prasupte na prabuddeye. And they had not woken up. See, first when the people tried to wake up, they were trying to wake up Dashratha. They were not trying to wake up Kaushalya and Sumitra first. So they were trying to wake Dashratha up, but they saw he is gone. So then they are trying to wake Sumitra and Kaushalya. Yata kala samandite. When they saw Sumitra and Kaushalya, it looked like even Sumitra and Kaushalya are gone. They were sleeping so heavily. So it says, Nishprabhacha Vivarnacha. How does Kaushalya and Sumitra look? These are beautiful queens who, wonderful people who know how to maintain themselves. But when you look at them, Nishprabhacha, there is no shine, there is no gloss in them. Vivarnacha, there is no color in their face. They are completely finished down and out. Tareva Tibiravrita. When the stars are completely enveloped by darkness, like that they looked. This is Valmiki's description. Suptameva Udgata Pranam. This is the conclusion. They concluded that Suptameva Udgata Pranam. When they were asleep, the king and the queens, in sleep, the king had passed on. This is the conclusion they came to. Devyav Sutte Drishtva. Yes, this is what they concluded by seeing the queens still asleep. Because if the queens had come to know, they would not have slept beyond that. So they have no news about it. Now, when people started wailing and moaning loudly, then what happened? Tasam Akranda Shabdena. When the Shabda, the tumultuous sound of these ladies and all the others who are assembled there, when they started hearing the cry, Sahasodyata Chetane. Suddenly, these queens came to their consciousness, Sumitra and Kaushalya. Kaushalya cha Sumitra cha Tyakta Nidre Babhuvatu. They suddenly recovered, giving up their sleep. They looked, touched the body of the king, and then cried, He Nateti Parikrushya. He Nata. They cried. Petatuhu Darani Tale. And then Petatuhu, they fell down on the floor. when they saw the king was gone. Then Kaushalya, who was lying there writhing, coated in dust and crying. Rudantya Shoka Santapta. She was crying there, Shoka Santapta, her heart taken over by the next sorrow, as if she hadn't got over from what had already transpired over the last 6 days. Nipetuhu Gata Chetana. She felt Gata Chetana, losing her consciousness. Then the whole palace, Tata Griham Sanada Yat, was reverberating with one sound. The cry of shock, the cry of mourning, the cry of activity of people who need to go and inform the right people for at the right time for the right purpose. So that was the situation. Then, on the demise of Dashratha, what happened to the place? Nipatitananda. There was no more happiness in that palace. Finished. Already they have never seen this kind of difficulty, this kind of people crying, this kind of a sorry situation in this palace ever. And this was the last piece on the camel's back. So everybody was completely sad and bitter in that situation. Vrisham Rudantam Karunam Sudukita. Bitterly weeping, piteous. Karunam Sudukita. Sudukita. Completely in dukkha. Vrisham Rudantam. Rudantam Muhurneta. Yugmam Vrijantam. The same word, Rudantam. Crying. That is Krishna. Here it is the ladies and everybody crying on Dashratha's passing away. Pragrihya Bahu Vyalapan Anatavat. What did the ladies do? Some of the other queens had come there and they were holding. In one version they say they were holding each other's hands and crying. And there is another version which says, Sanskrit can be interpreted differently, that they were holding the hands of the king and crying out, wailing. What we need to understand here is, just before we are born, it's a very lonesome situation. Yes? When we are born, suddenly we are swarmed by people and life is like a swarm of bees. But when you again need to pass on, in most cases, it's a very lonesome direction to take beyond that. There's the Lord, who is the only person who can accompany us on that journey. Therefore, the Sri Vaishnavas say that I think it's the Lord in Madurai. I think his name is Tirumogur. I think that's the name of the place. Where he is supposed to be called the Marga Bandhu, the person who takes you finally to the spiritual world. So the Marga, in that direction, he is the friend. Glorious person, great person, had so many sons. But here, he is dying alone. The queens are there next to him, but nobody knows when he passed away. So, we all need to understand that in life, we need to really focus. We need to focus and get attached to the Lord. Build that relationship with Krishna. And that is more important than any other relationship. These material relationships, even if you are the greatest king fully planned out, still you never know how it will end. How much can any mortal do for you? It is only the Lord who can actually be with us and save us under any circumstance. Hare Krishna. This is one chapter. It's a small chapter, 29-30 verses. So I am wrapped up with this chapter at this point in time. Any comments, questions on this chapter? What about Kaikeyi? Kaikeyi was not there because the king had gone to Kaushalya's palace after this. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay, somebody was happy with the word by word going through the verses. I think that gives me a lot of pleasure. It takes time, but we can very slowly digest. You see, even what arrangements are made for a king, that whole mahol, how that vatavaran, how it is built, yes, and suddenly what they realize, how the whole thing changes. It's very interesting to see. But all this is very beautifully described by Valmiki for us to pick up from. I move on to the next chapter. We heard about Kalidasa and how he spoke about Dashratha being extinguished. Now we hear from Valmiki. So he says, Tam Agni Iva Samshantam. Just as a fire is extinguished suddenly. Ambuhinam Ivarnavam. Without water. Arnava. Which word? Where do you hear this word Arnava? Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunarnavasya. That you are getting, O Guru, you are getting the mercy from that person who is the ocean Guna Arnava. So Arnava is ocean, Gunarnava. So here it is saying Ambuhina Ivarnavam. Ambu is water. Without water, if there is a dried up ocean, how will it look? Like that, Ayodhya is going to look. Hata Prabham Ivadityam. Just as if the sun suddenly has no light at all, how is it going to look? A few weeks ago, I had dealt with a session on Parashurama. That's what happened when Parashurama came in there. It looked like the sun had completely gone to oblivion. Yes, like that. Swargatam Preksha Partivam. That's what happened to Ayodhya. Just like a fire, a massive fire had just been extinguished. Everything silent and completely gone. Ambuhina, just as a big ocean which had gone totally dry. Just as the sun which had lost its lustre, Ayodhya had lost the great king. This is Valmiki's beautiful way of comparing. And Kaushalya Bashpa Purnakshi, Kaushalya with eyes full of tears. Vividam Shoka Karshita. So many different ways she was lamenting pitiably. Upagrihya Sharire Rajna. She grasped the head of the king. She went there, sat on the head side, took his head and put Dashratha's head on her lap. Kaikeyi Pratyabhashata. Even there, at that time when Kaikeyi walked in there, Kaushalya is telling her this. She looked at her and she looks at Dashratha and she says, Sakama Bhava Kaikeyi. Hey Kaikeyi, Sakama, have your desires been fulfilled? Not with a smile. Hey Kaikeyi, have your desires been fulfilled? Bhukshvarajyam Akantakam. Now you have nobody to block you. Enjoy your kingdom. He is gone. You have destroyed the Raghu dynasty because of that advice of Mantara. And Rama, my son, who is supposed to be my protector, does not even know that I have become a widow. That is the situation. And then she is talking about how Sita is suffering. She is talking about the whole thing. She gives a big bhashan out there. Then she is making one beautiful point. This point is about Janaka. She is saying, hearing that such an unrighteous action has been ordered by the king by banishing Rama along with his wife, King Janaka will be in great agony like me. Just as I am suffering, he will also be suffering there. In the same way, Sita is going through all those hardships. So he says, so she is now thinking of Janaka in that situation. Why is she talking Janaka here? We have to understand he is the Samdi, as the North Indians say. So they are answerable to him. Their daughter is suffering. So they are answerable to him. So she is thinking of him. She is thinking of his fate. So she is saying, Vriddhaschaiva Alpa Putrascha. First thing is, Janaka is already very old. And Alpa Putrascha, he doesn't have sons. This is his only progeny. This beautiful daughter of his, Vaidehi Anuchintayan. He is always thinking of Vaidehi. So Pishoka Samavishto. He will be completely engulfed in grief. Nanu Tyakshanti Jeevitam. Surely, looking at this difficult situation, he may even give up his life. That is his situation. Then Kaushalya says, what about me? Vihaya mam gato Ramaha. Rama has already left me and gone. Bhartacha swargato mama. My husband Bharta He's gone to Swarga. Vipato Sarvahi Nova. And all my Sarvahi, all my well-wishers, they are also gone. So says, I don't want to live anymore. Naham Jeevitum Utsahe. I have no utsaha. I have no enthusiasm to live anymore. What am I living for beyond this? When she says this, then the other people, she has the body of the king on her. And she said, I will die along with him in the pyre. So slowly, the other ladies come and take the hand of Kaushalya and Sumitra and take them away from that situation. Then, after that has happened, what are the arrangements that the mantris are making? We're going to see that now. Thaila Dronya Atat Amatya. The counselors, what did they do? Thaila Dronyam, a big tub, bathtub. They got a big mega bathtub. And in that, oil was filled. And in that, they put the body of Dashratha. Samkeshya Jagati Pati. So that's where they put Jagati Pati, the Lord of the world, had been put there. So this was as instructed by Vashishta and others. Sarvagnya Kartum Ishuste. So actually these counselors, they were Sarvagnya. You may think, oh, what is this? We have never heard. Generally what do you hear? When somebody passes on, what are you supposed to do? They don't want to, nobody will really appreciate preserving the body. You can put ice, you can do this, you can do that. But preserving the body is very difficult. Ours, the body starts to putrefy. It's not possible to preserve. Shankaracharya says this in Bhajagovindam so beautifully. Yes, Bharya Vidyati Tasmin Gaya. Even the wife is going to be afraid of that body after some time. So what they know that till the time, some arrangement has to be made. So they go ahead, arrange for the tub immediately, and it is put there. There is some indication here to also say that it's not a very normal practice. How often have you heard of or seen something like this? Unless it's a completely abnormal situation and a super special person. I believe in Russia, they are still preserving the body of Lenin or somebody like that. I don't know, some big guy. Just in case he pops back to life, or science makes so much advancement that a dead man will suddenly wake up and walk. So they preserved his body. Why did they preserve his body? Ritetu putran dahanam mahipate. There is no putra, there is no son. Narochayante suhrda samagataha. Narochayante, they did not desire. When there is no son, is he another? Is he a complete lonely man? Why should we actually do his cremation like this? No, let us wait for his son. So who said this? Suhrdaha, people who are actually dear to him, the elders, people who know. And anyway, there is Vashishta, Jabali, we're going to hear their names a little later. All these people together took a call that this is what they want to do. Iti tasmin shayane niveshayan. They lay him down, shayane, in a sleeping posture, that in the oil tub. Vinichintya rajanam achintya darshanam. Yes, Valmiki himself is saying it's not a common practice. It wasn't done for everybody. Achintya darshanam. It's something that's very, very rare to see. But that is the situation. In an unaccepted manner, they preserved the body. Now, what happened as soon as the news went out? On one side, we saw what happened with Kaushalya. Then we saw the ministers and others who were already assembled there. They immediately got into action to preserve the body. Now, what's happening with the people? Babur, Artha, extremely in pain. Nachashar male dhire, they just could not, there was no peace, there was no happiness, they were completely finished. Nisha Chandra Vihineva. Just as on a no moon day, how the sky is bereft of any speciality, like that people of Ayodhya were completely finished. Just as Stri Iva Bhartur Vivarjita. It's an example given. Example says, just as a woman without her husband. Yes, it's a very difficult situation, just like the sky without the moon. But today it looks like, many women will be happy, good. My husband's gone for a week. It's good, many people ask their husbands, don't come home. This work from home and all will not work. You go to work from work. Don't do this. So, Purim Narajata Rajante Thavadanyani Purim Narajata. In the city, there was no shine, there was no glitter. Ayodhya Hina Rajnya Mahatmanaha, because this great Mahatma was there was no shine in Ayodhya anymore. There was no gloss, it was all done. Tada Nagarya Naradeva Sankshaye. After the demise of the king, Vigarhyamanam Bharatasya Mataram. Vigarhyamanam. What is the first thought that came to everybody's mind? Bharatasya Mataram. Bharata's mother was the first person in everybody's mind, and everybody spoke ill of her. We should actually pray to the Lord that we never become the patra or deserving of this kind of ill will of everybody else. One should be a very, very nasty person to do things by which everybody, almost in unison, hate that person and what they have done and how they have managed things. This is how Kaikeyi became recipient of the ill will of everybody. Yes? Hare Krishna. So that is the next chapter. So today, for a change, I am attempting to touch 3 chapters. Some of them small chapters where we don't need to dwell too much also within this thing. So I am sort of skimming but left nothing out. We have done it in quite some detail. I'm moving to the next chapter. Before that, any comments? What's the basis of the call? The basis of the call is the fact that 1, he is the king. 2, he has 4 sons and not one of them is here at this point in time. So they didn't want to do. Actually, if you see, Anatha Preta Samskar, when you are doing, specifically if there is somebody is dead and there's nobody to take care of doing the Antim Samskar for them, doing the Antim Samskara for an Anatha Preta is supposed to be a great punya, great auspicious, because who is there to do for that person? Nobody is there. Let us see if we can do something. But this is not the situation of the king. He's a great personality and they want to see that everything is done properly. It should not become that Dashratha's situation is such that not even one son was there to do something samskara for him. Yes, that will be spoken about till today. So they wanted to right the wrong there. I hope that answers the question. Hare Krishna. Any other points, anybody? Otherwise, in the usual course, preserving a body beyond a particular number of days is not suggested. If the actual person is not around, the son who is supposed to be doing the kriya is not around, then there is somebody else who is very close to the family and close to that, a cousin or somebody else who can do. And sometimes, just as we saw only a few chapters before, how our Shravan Kumar's father had to do something. That's a very difficult situation that has to be done. So generally, it's a relative and it's a male member. Today, things are being done by women also. There are many cases where there are single daughters, only child situation where they are picking up. It's not very Vedic, but I think their Shraddha, they're doing something. It's not a really authorized thing per se. Yeah? But here we see what's happening with the Shraddha. Any other questions, comments? Yes? Specifically young folks, I want your full attention. Just a sec. Okay. There's a beautiful article. I read a whole collection of articles about how India was in 1740, 1750. A French traveler had come to India and he writes about a woman whose husband died and who is going to commit sati. So he came to know that this is happening. So it seems he went there. He actually witnessed the family. And it seems the girl, this was only done one day later or something like that. And the girl who was committing sati had voluntarily taken it up herself. And she was in a very cheerful spirit that she had the spirit and the mood to be able to do that. This is there a record from history. There are many cases where women are pushed into the fire. That is stupidity. Okay, that is not sati. That is asat. That's completely unacceptable and wrong. Laila and Majnu, somebody dies for somebody else, then you will make movie after movie and celebrate that. Ek duje ke liye. But if somebody wants to give their self up on a fire, then it is sati, it is very ignorant, very this thing, We are not here to encourage sati. And the practicality of it may not be very valid for today. But to think that that's a stupid, whatever our traditional people did, the caste system was stupid, cow worship was stupid, sati was stupid, whoever says this, take it back. That's what you are. It wasn't. So if you want to really read about it, where women actually wanted to, just like Madri wanted to. Yes? But Kunti remained so that she will be able to take care of children. Somebody has to do. So people take these calls based on that. So when somebody is so attached to the husband specifically, she says the pain, Gandhari, it seems Shubha was telling me, Gandhari makes this mention that the pain of separation, the fire burning within me of separation is stronger than the fire that is outside. When this fire is stronger, you prefer that fire to this fire. And for that person, that Agni will be cool, this fire will be extinguished. Yes? Any questions, comments, anybody? Hare Krishna. Yes. There is a verse here, straight from Valmiki's Ramayana, where the ministers say, the king died because of separation from Rama. Okay. Now what you need to understand is Tava Katamritam Tapta Jivanam. Yes, the person is tapta, is getting actually burnt. Is getting burnt because of separation. This Dashratha was in perfect condition 7 days ago. But this Dashratha had completely been broken down simply by the one thought that he will not see Rama anymore. This thought was so addictive to him, this thought was so important to him that he could not think of anything else. Whoever else, whatever consolation, whatever anybody said, had no meaning to Dashratha. Therefore, if at all there was a reason why Dashratha died, which the ministers and Valmiki is concluding very clearly, Dashratha died because of his separation from Rama. When the very cause of death is the obsession towards Rama, you think his consciousness would have been in a state different, whether in sleep or whether awake? We need to cultivate that consciousness and attachment to Krishna or Rama, so that we will be able to somehow manage to be able to antakale chamameva smaran bhuktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. We need not have a doubt. And Prabhupada has also said that you will be able to go home, back to Godhead, follow the process, what has been given, and we will be able to achieve that. It's important, but it needs to be actively cultivated. Right through, we are only thinking of money, we are only thinking of wine, women, we are thinking only of these things. So suddenly in the Antakala, it is not, Krishna is not going to come in our thoughts. So it needs to be worked upon constantly. It's a big topic, and the whole process of Krishna consciousness is focused on the same thing. So I sort of conclude with this. So what happens? Sametya Rajakartaraha. There are people who specialize in coronations and whatever need the special activities in connection with the king's places. So all of those people, those Brahmanas, Dvijatayaha, Sabham, Iyuhu, all of them came together. They reached the Sabha. So when they came in the next morning, then the great rishis, Markandeya, Maudgalya, Kashyapa, Katyayana, Gautama, Jabali, all of these people were there. They all approached Vasishta and gave their opinions in different ways to Vasishta. So then he said, the great king has attained heaven. Rama has taken refuge in the forest and brilliant Lakshmana has gone with him. Bharata and Shatrughna are there in the other space. Let someone from the Ikshvaku race be appointed right now, since if a king is not there, a country will be destroyed. So why? That's very interestingly taken over the next. So let me see if I can conclude that in 20 something minutes. If not, I will pick that up further into the next week. So the phrase that's used again and again and again over the next 20-25 verses, na arajake janapade. For people in the south, you will have heard this, specifically in Tamil at least, they say arajakam, a raja, where there is no king, na arajake janapade. This will not be there in a kingdom without a king. So there's a list of things. We're going to go look at that. So first they say, Vidyunmali Mahaswana. Mala. Yes, garland. Vidyunmala. A garland of lightning. Where? Thunderous garland of lightning along with the Parjanyo. Abhivarshati Parjanyo Mahim Divyena Varina. Where in a kingdom where there is no king, where will there be those wonderful clouds surrounded by a garland of lightning with music in the background coming from the thunder, where the showers, Parjanyo, is happening. Mahi Divyena Varina comes and supplies wonderful celestial rain to the earth. Now this whole process of rain is being made look so wonderful and such a this thing, but believe me, nothing in this world, whether it is here in the Muslim countries, whether it is in the Christian nations, wherever you will see people pray for rain. If rain is not there for a period of time, you will see prayers are organized for rain, because rain is the very source of life. So in the Gita, what do we see? Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha yajñad bhavati parjanyo yajña karma samudbhavaha. Anna, that's the base of life. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanya anna sambhavaha. From that parjanya, from rain, anna becomes possible. Sambhavaha. Yajñad bhavati parjanyo. And where are the rains coming from? Rains come because the yajñas are performed in order to please the personalities, everybody doing their different yajñas and their duties. Yajña karma samudbhavaha, and that yajña is born of different activities and the karma that different people. Now listen to the rest of the description and how beautifully. First thing they say, the varnashrama duties will fail. If the varnashrama duties fail, everything will fail. This was the beauty of what they call the caste system. So also listen to that. Why? What is the problem? So first they say what happens to the spiritual corridor. And in the spiritual corridor, well, just in connection with this, that is, not even a handful of grains can be sown on the soil. Because why? There is no rain. How can you disperse the seeds? It is not possible. Even if you do that, it's not going to sprout because there is no rain. It will not. Where does all this start? This starts with Yajñaha Karma Samudbhavaha, people doing their respective duties. What are their respective duties? Let's listen to some of these. Yajña Shila Dvijatayaha. The Dvijas, the Brahmanas are supposed to do Yajña. They are supposed to live a life of sacrifice, live a life performing sacrifice. Satrani na anvasate. Yes, if they are not going to practice their satra yajñas, then there will definitely be a problem. Dantaha brahmanaha sanshita vrataha. That the brahmanas are supposed to take a vow of living a life of truthful, self-controlled shamo damah tapas shaucham shantihi arjavamevacha jnanam vijnanam astiknyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Therefore, it is not that a Brahmana is generally described as somebody in luxury, very rich one. That's not the Brahmana. The Brahmana's main description is he is Vedavit, he is self-controlled. Those are the aspects. So to say that in a place where the king is not there, na rajake janapade, what is going to happen? You will not have self-controlled brahmanas. Then, mahayagneshu yajvanaha. Now, there are normal yajnas and there are some very, very special big yajnas. For those, the persons who conduct that yajna are very rare commodity to get. Where are those things going to happen? Because for that you need wealth. Brahmanaha susampanna visrijjanti apta dakshinaha. Apta dakshina. There has to be sufficient dakshina to get the best dravyas, to give dakshina to the brahmanas who are conducting all this thing, people who make all the arrangements. So the yajna was a big affair where everybody, the whole nation would come together. Where will that happen if the king is not there? Because the king encourages that activity. It's a matter of peer pressure. Yes? Who funds all of this? It's the Vaishya who funds everything. King sets the mood of the country in such a way that everybody supports these activities. Not only that, let's look at what happens to the ascetics when the king is not there. Nacharati ekacharo vashi. Those people who are ekachara, who travel alone, the monists, the loners, who are constantly only having their mind on the Lord. Yes? Bhavayan atmana atmanam, that in their mind, atmana atmanam, they are always thinking of the Atma or always thinking of the Lord. Bhavayan, those who are constantly contemplating. These people move around. Charati, by moving around, they give the opportunity for people to get in touch with the Lord. Where will those people move? Why? Yatra sayam grihe munihi. Therefore, even now, you go to many places, go in the rural area, in the middle of nowhere in a village, you will see one little mandapam. What is one mandapam sitting there for? Mandapam is, solid granite built for this thing on the side, the size of a hall or something like that. It is there. It won't be very high. It will be sort of low enough. Just head height. You will be able to go there. If there is rain, if there is sun, you will be able to rest. What are these places built for? These places are built for pilgrims and all the ascetics to travel. And when you go near the temples, you will see more and more of these. Because this was always kept for shelter for people who are traveling for Kshetradana. Yes, for a pilgrimage. So these places are meant for them. Another, listen to the next one. So where will these ascetics be? There is one more point that is being stated. The ascetics will not have fear. That is the problem. When the king is there, ascetic cannot do nonsense. Some fellow, Ram Rahim or Nasha Ram, all these fellows ran away with young girls and do stuff like that. If the king is there, even if he is an ascetic who does nonsense, he will be put in place. Yes, that is important. Then he says, Nara Shastra Visharadaha. What about those people who are great learned panditas? What will they do? Na samvadante avatishtante. They will not go to one place, sit. Tishtante where? Vane, upavane, chitticha. There are gardens, big gardens, or places which are forests on the outskirts of the city. You look at the painting that's done for Parikshit, where Shukadev Goswami is coming. It's not in the heart of the city. They go find a peaceful place which is favorable for spiritual inquiry. And therefore, in places like that, people who are actually Shastra Visharadaha, people who have read Shastras, they will go there, sit. There will be Vaishyas who will organize these events. For everything, organization is needed. Encouragement is needed. Dhana is needed. That's the duty of a king. Then comes deity worship. Then he says, Namalya Modaka Dakshina. If you go to many temples, you will see Namalya. No mala for the deity. No modaka, no sweets being offered. No dakshina being offered. That's the state today. Why? Because the government is not doing anything about it. The king is supposed to ensure these things. And that's what Dashratha was. So for each of the points I'm making, what I want you to pin in your head, just like from the first in the spiritual corridor, when you say sacrifices will not be performed, this means the ministers know and the people know that sacrifices happen on an everyday basis in Ayodhya. and there are sufficient brahmanas being taken care, ascetics facilities are being provided so that ascetics will be able to freely roam around and in the thought of the Lord and be able to distribute Krishna consciousness to everyone. Discourses were being held in every place. Deities were worshipped beautifully. Administrative, let's look at what is happening with the administrative corridor. So, the deity alone, Devatabhyam Archanartaya, for the sake of worshipping Devatas, Kalpayante Niyatai Janai. See, there are people. Now, if in say Damodar Desh Yatra, we have a particular event, there's a set of devotees who are specifically very, very good with regard to making deity arrangements. For that you need Dana. For that you need one person who leads the show, who is the organizer, who makes things happen. Without that, everything is going to fall apart ultimately. It's very, very important. So, that's the role that the king plays. What happens with regard to the administrative corridors? Siddhartha Vyavaharani. He says, oh, all the lawyers, they have to struggle to bring Arnab Goswami out of the jail. Yes, Siddhartha Vyavaharani. The lawyers will struggle. Why? Because this is not a place for Satya. Truth will never remain. It is going to Kutas Satyaha. Without a king, where is there going to be Satya? Who will be ever able to bring and keep law in place? Where will Satya prevail? Then he says, what is the situation going to be if nobody is there to manage these things? He says, Matsya Iva Nara Nityam. This example we saw Kaushalya gave Dashratha just before he passed on. She says, just as I've heard that fish eat their younger ones, you have literally eaten up Rama by what you have done. So here, the mantris did not have purview to this conversation. They were not party, they didn't have the opportunity, but they're giving a different example altogether. So just as Ahastani Sahastana Padani Chatupadam Falguni Tatramahata Jivo Jivasya Jivanam. But that should not happen in people. One big Amazon comes here and all other business are completely finished. Yes? Every other business, all the little Irani, Malayali shops and all of the little shops that we have seen. In the region I can use these terms. It need not be relevant to everybody. Please excuse me. Not meant to offend anybody. Just to say that the small shopkeepers are finished and everybody wants to buy everything online. Press the button, buy online. This is completely killing. The big fish is going to eat all the small fish out. Bhakshyanti, Parasparam, they keep eating one another. This is what will happen when a king is not there. With stories and entertainment and storytellers, all those people, they are also needed for a city, for a kingdom to flourish. Katha Anurajyante, Katha Sheela, Katha Priyahi. There are many people who love to speak stories and there are many people who come to listen. So there is Natya, there is Nritya, there is all of this. Then there is the economic corridor. Yes? Now, it's very important to provide safety. So very, very beautiful point. Just see the importance of a king. What is the role of a king? Where is the safety for people to take rest? Here it is described, Dhanavantaha Surakshanti, Dhanavantaha Surakshitaha, Sherate Vivrita Dwara. The wealthy people keep their doors and windows open and happily goes to sleep. If you don't give him that peace in a place where you don't have an AC and say it is summer, you keep all your doors and windows fully locked so that nobody comes to steal your gold within, the guy will die, inside itself. COVID is not necessary. Just out of suffocation you will die. Yes, if there is fear. So the king has to keep a situation where people, specifically the wealthy, the businessmen, should not feel that their money will be stolen away. Right now, if you see, with regard to the American election, whatever is happening, one of the major things that's discussed is, how will the economy be propped up? That's a very, very important thing. How will the economy be brought back to its legs? This is an important role of a king. Yes, it's an important thing to do. Next, and Vanijo Duraga Minaha. Silk route. You come from China all the way down. People went to so many distances. These people have to travel. A Vanija has to travel, get things from there and come and sell it here. Just like Madhva also saw a cargo ship which had some cargo in it and saw that big stone in which he got. So it's important. If the travelers, the merchants have fear of traveling, then what is going to happen? You have to provide that safety. That's the duty of the king. If the king is there, then all the wealthy people and the traders will come and live in that place, and the king will also have sedippu or will flourish. That's a Tamil word for that. Nagachanti, Shemam, Udvanam. So if there is no safety, where are these people going to stay? Where is the happiness corridor? What was taken care of by the king with regard to happiness? Dakarayanti sabam naraha. Many people, first the king will organize these big events. Yes, people come together, festivals, irrespective of what happens. Economy may go down, go up, but you will see that a country will prop things up and show people that everything is good. That is needed. It is part of the duty and responsibility of a king to perform that. Udyanani charamyani Trishta Punya Grihani cha. Whether it is building beautiful Udyanani, gardens, or delightful Trishta where people can actually enjoy, or Punya Grihani cha, whether it is temples or community halls, and all of these are very important things that need to be done. Utsavascha Samajascha Navardante Prabhu Natana Nartakaha. Navardante means these things will never improve. It says Utsavascha, big festivals have to be celebrated. Janmashtami is the biggest celebration in this place. Yes, like that, these celebrations have to happen. By this, society has that peace, that happiness. These are societal elements that a king has to put in place. Navardayanti Prabhuta Nata Nartakaha. Big number of Nata dancers and singers and actors and all these people need to be encouraged. It's very important. They will, if they don't have the money, they didn't eat food for 5 days, then how enthusiastically can they dance or sing or do anything? It is not possible. So they need to be protected, preserved, supported, and they will in turn enthuse people to live happy lives. These are societal aspects which the king took care of. Very important. Now, recently you hear some announcement that some film big actors are saying that there are many actors because of COVID, the whole cinema industry has gone down and all these sub-artists and all these people are sinking. We have to support them in some way or the other. They are talking. It is important. It is important to do. But what did you do when you made crores and crores and those fellows made 50 rupees per hour for what they did? It's nice to talk about it now, but anyway, it's the duty of people who are in good position to support all of these activities. It is also part of society. Not today's modern cinema, it's a very questionable thing. But this is also part of a king's responsibility. What about the other general things that the king would do? A beautiful point that Valmiki is making. Udyanani samagataha. Oh, many people will come and assemble in the gardens. Who will come? Sayanne Kridantu Yanti Kumarya Hemabhushitaha. In the evening, in order to play in the parks, many young girls, Hemabhushitaha, fully decorated, beautifully adorned with gold, will they go? There are many countries, when many of our friends first landed up in the Middle East, when you see that there is a police car, there is a law that is very clearly understood, and you do something, you will be thrown out of the country immediately. With all this, this is the mood that has to prevail. If that mood prevails, then everybody does their duty correct. Yes? Narajake Janapade, that's what they are talking about. When that is not there, that is going to be a problem. Vahanaihi, the great chariots will be whizzing past, and there's Naraha, Naryani. They have anointed themselves with aguru and wonderful dresses, and people are going together for picnics and all of that. Chandana, aguru, Rushita, using all of those. So the latest perfume, they're using all of that. So This is the general well-being and happiness of society which a king has to ensure. Along with that, the whole Varnashrama system, the king puts all of this in place. Now, forget just these good fellows. Look at the guys. In every country, there will be a bunch of atheists and stupid guys. Some fellows who want to keep bombs. All those fellows will be put in place when there is a strong king that is there. Tepihi bhavya kalpante raja danda nipidita. Raja will give danda to those fellows, atheists specifically being named there, that they will take care. So, without a king, a family will be in trouble. In what way? Pituhu putre bharyava varte vashe. To accept an authority, it first starts with accepting the authority of the Lord. The second is the accepting the authority of the king in a nation. Third is the accepting the authority of a father or a leader in a leader in a community. Then accepting the father or the mother as authority in a family. All these are systems of authority. When the top fails, when a king is not there, nobody cares for the kingdom's rule, then who is going to care for the authority of a father or mother? That is also not going to be there. So in a society like this, what is going to happen? Dhanam chasti nasti bharyapi. Forget your wealth, even your wife will not stay with you. This is Valmiki's words. Valmiki is saying this. Then, Sharan santatam asyatam. Look at this. This is the beautiful point. This is called the warrior corridor. You'll say, oh, we want peace, we don't want war. No. You should have Sharam santatam asyatam. That arrow should be ceaselessly shot. Nashruyate tala nirgosha. You will not hear. If king is not there, you will not be able to hear those people who are practicing with their bow and arrow. So when you are practicing with your bow and arrow, they use a hand protector made of skin. So when you pull this and leave it, at that time you will hear the sound of the leather. And you will hear the twang of the string. And you will hear the speed of the arrow going zoom. And you will hear that twang. So when you hear this sound, when you know that this is an area where, okay, there's a friend of mine who went to Nasik recently. And he said, oh, we live in the very close to the cantonment area. It's a very safe space. Why is it safe? Because you know that there are army guys. Chor or koi paas mein nahi aayega. So exactly like that, in a country like Ayodhya, there should be people who are constantly practicing. Ishu Shastranam Upasane. This is the Upasana of a Kshatriya. This is the worship or the practice of a Kshatriya. That he is always practicing bow and arrow and weapons constantly. Na yoga kshema pravartate. In a place, forget yoga kshemam vahamyam. Krishna is saying, I will take care of your yoga and kshema. In a similar manner, here the same term is being used to say that what people have, they cannot preserve. What they don't have, they cannot get. When will this situation come? Shatrun visahyate yudhi. In a war, if you cannot put China to place, if you can't put your enemy in place, you're going to be in trouble. You have to put that in place to give people the feeling that everything is in place. The spiritual activity of the place is taken care. The people's well-being is taken care. There is a sense of authority. There is a sense of order. From the dancers to entertainment to every single aspect, economy, the Vaishyas are taken care. Because of that, the Shudras and the Vaishyas, Krishi, Gauraksha, Vanijya, all of those activities are taken care. When all this happens, then the king who takes care of all of these activities is known as Raja Rashtravardhanaha. He is the one who always keeps enhancing the greatness of a kingdom. This is the glory of Dashratha that they spoke about. Then they say, without such a king, this place is like a river without yatahi. Anudaka nadhyaha. Just like this place will become like a nadi, a river without water. Yatava hyapi trinam vanam. As if there is no vegetation. When there is no vegetation, there is no trees, there is no grass. What is the point in calling it a forest? Agopala yata gavaha. Just as without a cowherd, without Gopala, what will happen to the cows? They will go astray. In a similar manner is our situation. I close with this. The rest of this section, we have another 5-8 verses. I will deal with it next verse. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai. Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai.